Okay, so let's dive on into painting the main body of this canister thing. Everything else is looking pretty good, I think, for now, and you can even test it if you want to throw on cycles and turn on the scene render stuff and take a look at it. Everything is looking pretty good. Yeah, like that foam is looking nice and foamy. The metals are all looking good. Maybe on the chrome the bump or the roughness is a little too strong or something, but I think it's fine for now. Turn that back off, switch back to this view, and let's go ahead and dive on in. We're going to use mostly the texture painting and the shading tabs. However, first we have to make sure we are unwrapped. Always important when you're texture painting your object. I'm just going to jump over to the UV editing tab, and it already gets me in edit mode. Hit A to select everything. You can see our UVs are already pretty screwed up. So let's hit U, Smart UV Project, and I'm going to go island margin of 0.1. Enter, OK. And that looks pretty good, I think. Yeah, that looks great. So I think we're good there. We can go back to shading and start setting this up how we want to do this. So I'm going to make a little more space for nodes here. So we've got our paint initially, and what we're going to want under it is another metal. So let's go ahead and create another principled BSDF shader right there, and Control Shift click attaches it, and go ahead right to the metallic, turn it way up, turn the roughness way down. And if you want to make it darker, lighter, whatever you want, I'm going to leave it like this for now, but I am going to do the little Voronoi texture thing to kind of give it a just some kind of texture. You can of course do any kind of texture you want on this thing, on that metal. Let's go to like 100, see what it looks like. Still way too big. Turn this down 0.3, less 0.2, and let's go 200. See what that looks like. Still not great. 250. How about, what if we go down to 0.05? That's looking promising. 300. 400. Oh, that's interesting. That's not bad. And then 0.03. That doesn't look too shabby. Let's go 350. Split the difference. So there we go. That kind of looks like a nice metal to use as an underlying thing. At least a good start. You could put a grunge and stuff, all that in the roughness or in the color, wherever you want. But I don't know if we're going to reveal enough of this metal. It depends on what you're painting and how you want to do it. But for now, I'm just going to leave it like that. I think that'll be enough. So we've got our metal, we've got our paint. We've got to mix them together. So go ahead and create a mix shader right there, and put the paint in the bottom one, because we want the paint over the metal, right? We're setting this up just like in real life. Whereas if the factor is 0, you're seeing all metal. This way it's all paint. And then we need something to kind of control how they mix. That's where we're going to create our painted map. So go ahead and Shift A, texture and image texture, and new. I'm going to call this edgeware, because that's what we're going to be painting most of. Of course, you can use this once you understand the basics of how we layer all this together. You can paint maps for anything: dirt, oil, reflection, bump, all that kind of stuff. So go ahead, and I'm going to turn this up to maybe like a 4K. Yeah, I'm sorry, times 4. That'll make it 4K. And the color's fine. Alpha doesn't matter. Actually, the color is not fine. If we leave it at black, this image is going to act as basically like an alpha channel between the paint and the metal underneath. If we leave it black, in an alpha channel, black is completely transparent, white is completely opaque. So if you leave it black, it's going to be completely transparent, which means you won't see any paint. It'll all be metal. We want it the other way around. We want to see all the paint, and then where we paint with our brush is where we want to reveal the metal. So let's go ahead and turn this to white instead. Like that, and then hit OK. And you can't see it. It's over here. There you go. You can see it. Nice white square. Plug that into your factor, and nothing should change because you just plugged a big white solid into your factor, which equals 1. So Now, however, we can go ahead over to texture paint and switch over to this workspace view. And there's your image. We can see less of that unless you want to paint on this over here. But now what you're going to do here in the brush tools, you can see you've got your texture slots, you've got your color picker. There is a color palette if you're interested in using that or making your own, but I think we'll be okay without it. Later on we will be dealing with the texture and the texture mask. But for now, let's just look at the color. If we come in here and we pick, you can't pick white, right? Because the whole image is white. If we paint with white, nothing's going to happen. If we paint with black, however, I'm going to switch over to my tablet, and we can see now when we paint, it should reveal the metal underneath, all right? And that's exactly what we want. And this kind of gets fun. And you can use your normal brush settings. If you've ever done any sculpting or anything like that, you hit F, changes the size, Shift F, the strength, and then you can just kind of do what you want, do what feels good on your whatever your object is. Now, this just looks like a regular old soft brush, which is not what we want at all. How can we break that up a bit? That's where these two texture things come in. If you paint with an image or a pattern in your texture, it's going to actually paint whatever that image is. So if this image is a black and white image, it's going to paint with black and white. If it has color in it, it's going to paint with that color. So you kind of don't want to use that for this example, because we still want to paint with black to be the reveal through that metal. But we can use a mask. So go ahead and create new, and you'll see it's just called texture. We can jump over here to the texture panel and grab that texture, and it's looking for an image of movie. We don't want that, we want clouds. And that's it. Just go ahead back to your brush. You'll see it appear here. We don't want it in this texture. I don't know why it puts it in both, so delete it from the texture. Not delete it, but just hit that little X to get rid of it. And now when you come over here to paint, and you hit F to resize your brush, you can see that texture right on your brush. So I'm going to go ahead and make it pretty big. Make it a little smaller. And just start painting. And now you can see exactly what's happening. It looks a little bit more broken up. And you can zoom in and get a little bit more detail. But you can see it already looks a little bit, it's still fuzzy, but it doesn't look as, Photoshop-y as it normally would. But let's make this look a lot better, right? So we're going to go ahead into, back into the shading tab here. We've got it started here, right? And you can see what that image is. Let's go ahead and throw a color ramp on it. Shift A, converter color ramp, which is basically going to act as a levels adjustment on that black and white map we've created. You can see if you look at your map, there's all kinds of gray tones and values in there and different shades. And now we're just going to use this to kind of crush those that contrast and bring out some better details. So you can just drag these really close together. You can already see kind of what that's doing. Check that out. That looks pretty good, right? You can still see where the brush was smooth, it doesn't look real at all, but where that brush was using the noise mask, it looks much nicer. So that's kind of what we want to do there. Now you can go back to your texture paint and you can keep on texture painting if you want. You can adjust your strength of your mask or of your brush, so it actually looks like you're eroding the paint away as you're painting, which is fun. You can kind of break all these up. If you've taken away too much paint and you kind of want to bring it back, just go ahead and you can right click in your viewport. You can actually do it. You can go over here and change this, but you can also right click and it brings up the palette, drag it up to white, and now you can kind of paint back some of that blue paint if you want, which is super handy. How you scale in and out affects the size of that noise pattern, so it's very easy to kind of get a nice natural look going. Break this up a little bit up here. That looks good. Yeah, look at that. That's good. A little bit come through there. So yeah, you can see what we're doing here. It looks much more organic now, much more realistic. And I'm going to go ahead and switch back to black here and kind of take a little bit away and make it smaller down here. There might be spots I kept finding when I get down to here and I go in here. Yeah, see, something's funky with the UV where it kind of, I think it's the same point as in two spots really far away. So it does this goofy thing. But I just turn it up. I'm sure there's a way to fix it in UV, but I haven't messed around with it to bother figuring it out. If anybody knows, feel free to let me know, but I just paint it back out and it's fine. It works great. Go back to black and keep on going. And you'll find that that happens if you use that the Smart UV Project. You'll find that may happen in random places throughout your model, depending on the complexity of your model and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's looking pretty good, right? And some places you can even go much bigger. I like to go on these corners. I always like to do a lot of damage, and then around things that I think people would touch, like these bolts and stuff, or down here around these things. I feel like people are probably taking these in and out a lot, so there's probably lots of scratches around them. All right. And just be really random about it, Don't think too much about it. And here's another neat trick too: is if you kind of go to this real steep glancing angle, you can kind of get some neat, and then paint. It kind of looks like scratches, which is pretty cool. So you go out, zoom out a bit, do something like this, and it looks like cool scratches. That's pretty cool, huh? And then you can go in and keep on detailing, adding in, break up some of those. If some of those edges look a little smeary, you can tweak that out. So yeah, you can see how you can just get lost doing this now for hours and hours and just have fun doing what you're doing. There's another one of those things. Let's see, what else do we want to do? Let's put some around these a little bit. Let's turn it up a little bit. Get a little bit of action there. Very random. Maybe somebody's had to pry this off a couple times. Just put some wear around it. Extending down to that first, that thing. Yeah, there we go. It's coming along pretty nice. We can even go around this thing too. This thing is something where I would paint a dirt map for the whole object, and I would get in here and paint it very dark and dirty and dingy in there, just to kind of, this is obviously some kind of vent, so air's coming in or going out a lot. It's going to cause it to clog up a bit. And here I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to set that to white, turn off that thing, set the strength to 100, and just try and paint out these things a bit, because they're getting crazy. I found that in some of my earlier tests, sometimes they'd be stretching across the whole body, and I would just break them up a little bit, and they kind of look cool sometimes, but I don't think I want them now. But sometimes you can get them to look interesting, like a happy accident kind of thing. Get rid of these guys, and there we go. That's looking pretty good. Let's do some bigger stuff just for the heck of it. Go here, grab our texture again, and we're going to go big this time, right? Turn that down, turn this up, and big. Yeah, lots worn away up here. And extending down. I think there's even brush dynamics you can mess with if you want. Like I'm getting a little bit of pressure sensitivity and all that kind of stuff, but you can really dial all that in if you want. And to get different effects, you can use different. We're just using a noise here, but you can certainly use any kind of alpha mask you have or you want to use. Yeah, this is cool. Looking good. This big, making it real big and going in real chunky looks good. Let's zoom out a little bit more and get some bigger. And let's go in. Do we want to do around here? Maybe a little bit. That kind of thing. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I'll just throw a little in here. Yeah, so you get the idea. A little in here. And now let's jump back into the shading nodes, and you can see how to do a little more extra with this as well. Yeah, let's go ahead back in. Put that down, jump over to shading nodes again. And now we've got all kinds of damage. Oh, you know what? Before we go on, actually, make sure you save your project. Save. And then come up here, and this is where it's keeping track of all the texture slots you have. So far all we have is one, this edgeware. But you want to click Save All Images. So it saves it. Do that after you've set a name for your project and save it. Save all images, and then do a external data automatically pack into blend. And now it will save all those images in with your blend file. Save again, Control S, and now you won't lose any data or anything. So now we can go back over to the shading nodes, and let's go ahead and let's make this paint a little bit cooler, right? You can actually select these and hit Control J if you want, and it will make a frame around them, which you can then name. We can call this metal. And turn on the color, and that looks pretty good, that nice gray. And we'll get a few things going here on the paint, and then we will make a little frame for that too. So for now, let's unplug the map that we painted and go back to just the regular paint. And let's bring in another grunge image. Maybe something like that. No, something a little more drippy would be kind of cool. That's interesting. What else do I have? What else do I have? Is that interesting? No. That's not too bad. That's kind of cool. Let's do that one. I wonder what that'll look like. Let's just see what this looks like. Just experimenting here. Throw that into the roughness. And there we go. We've got something going on. A little tricky to see right there. It is. You can see it there in the reflection. So let's go ahead and do that same thing where we hit Control T and we get these, and we're going to plug in generated and switch it to box. See what we get there. Should be a bit more detail now, which is great. We can actually click on that and actually see it. Let's see what object looks like. That's not bad either, but not great. And let's look at generated again. I think generated looks nicer. And then we do the blend to kind of get rid of the hard edge, and I think we're good to go there. Yeah, I think we're going to do that. So let's go ahead and look at that paint again now. Right there. And what do we want to do? We want to watch this. Let's go grab a color, mix RGB, and we're going to drag our blue color into that color slot 1 and then also into the color slot 2. And we're going to use this, that grunge we just set up, as the factor to mix between them and plug that in to replace our blue. So because they're all just the same blue, nothing's going to change yet. But we can take the second blue and kind of make it darker or make it lighter, whatever we want to do, which kind of looks interesting. That kind of looks interesting. Kind of looks like it might be starting to like wear away on the a little bit on some of that. So that's kind of interesting. And if you want to turn that down a bit, it's very easy. Just throw a excuse me. This it's looking at the black and white values here, right? So you can just throw in another mix with a black or a white and kind of mix between them and get a different thing going. But that doesn't look too bad. Maybe not. Maybe darker is better. No? That kind of looks grungy. Doesn't look too bad. I'm not loving the roughness, the shininess of it. We can also unplug this if you want. Let's dial in that shininess with a converter and a color ramp like that. And if we crank this right, it should get really shiny. But what we want to do is make it less shiny like that. That's not bad. Pretty good. Yeah, that kind of works. Looks all right. And then we can plug this in. Do we really want to do this darker one? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe not. Maybe this isn't a great idea. Yeah, I think it's just being lighter or darker kind of takes away from the roughness of it. So we'll leave it for now. What you could do as well is bring in a totally different map, like a something like this. What's this? Yeah, let's try this guy. Bring this guy in, drop it here, and do another color mix RGB. Throw that blue on top. Plug this into the factor and plug that into the color, and it should, yeah. We want to do the same kind of blending here. Set it to box, and that looks pretty cool. I think what we want to do is switch these actually, though. What if we switch these and make this one less saturated, right? And darker. That looks kind of cool. Yeah, that looks very interesting. We can even make it a little bit darker. And what we want to do is crush it down a little bit. Crush those values with another color ramp. You see, we use a lot of color ramps here. Throw another one in there, and then we can dial in the white and the black to kind of get the exact look we want for it. I think that looks pretty good. And if you want to dial in the strength of it overall, what you can do is add a color mix RGB. You know what else you could do is probably just throw in a converter math, set the multiply, and that should, right? No. This is not, yeah, you don't want that. X, delete that, plug this in. This, you want white, right? All the way. So this will let you dial in how much of that you actually see. Because white is going to be just our solid blue, right? So now you can kind of dial in how much of that you want to see, if at all. Which maybe we don't for a little bit. I don't know. Maybe just a little bit. That's not too bad. And then we can plug back in our edge map. See what we get there. That looks starting to look pretty good, right? Because the paint looks better. Yeah. So let's go ahead now and create a bump map for the paint as well with this. We're going to go ahead and drag this guy back a bit. I'm going to throw an elbow in right here. Move that there just to keep it nice and clean. We can actually do that Control J and call this paint, and we can make it the color of the paint shader. It's a little dark, but brighten it up, saturate it less, and there you go. So now it kind of ties in. It's very easy to see what's what here. And let's go ahead and throw in another bump map down here. Vector bump, throw it here. Actually, we're going to want to bring it up here first. And we're going to plug this into the height, our edge map. And we're going to drag it down, back down here to plug it in to the normal, right there. And you can already see exactly what that's doing. And it doesn't look perfectly realistic yet, but we can help it out a bit. Drag this down here. And up here, what we want to do, the reason it doesn't look realistic yet is it's using that exact same color ramp. So we kind of want to get something similar, but not exactly the same. So duplicate it, plug it in, throw in an elbow here, and plug in that color to that instead. We can delete that elbow now. And now you can kind of dial in that bump a bit more, kind of however you want to do it, right? So give it a little, space it out a little bit more. That looks kind of good, right? So look, black one's not really doing much here, is it? There we go. It's a little bit something, I guess. The white one is doing a lot, though. Another thing is this is set really high right now. So if we go down here to the bump, set that strength to like 0.2, that looks better. Looks better. It's still not perfect. I'm going to leave it there for now, but we may come back and dial that back down a bit. And then one other thing we can do real quick is create a primer layer that's kind of in between the metal and the paint. So to do that, what you want to do is you want to keep setting it up exactly as it would be in real life, right? Like you got your metal and you got your paint. So we kind of want to put that primer right in here. Select that mix node and duplicate it, bring it back here. And I'm just going to use a diffuse shader for now, but if you want to go ahead and throw in a BSDF, be my guest. And you're going to see now all the metal becomes white because all we're doing is throwing a white over the metal before the paint goes over it. So we're going to duplicate. Well, first let's try one of these and see what happens if we use one of those same edge mats. That looks pretty good, not too bad, but I think we could probably get it looking a little better. See what this one looks like. That's not too bad either. I'm going to duplicate this first one. I think it looked better. So I'm going to start from there, plug that color back in down here in the factor, and I can make some space here so this is all nice and organized. And now I can dial in the look of that primer coat with these sliders here. And you can make it white, you can make it rust colored. You know, there's that rust colored primer. Yeah, you can make it black. I kind of dig the black. I think that looks kind of interesting. Yeah. And then again, once you've got the color picked out that you like, you can always kind of come back and dial these in at any time, which is kind of cool. That looks pretty good, right? Yeah, looks nice. So here's where I'm thinking that bump might be a little too much right there. But again, this is Eevee. If you're working in Eevee, dial it in accordingly. I might jump over to, I'm going to hit save, jump over to cycles and see how that looks with the render scene stuff turned on. See if that bump looks any better. It might be too high, I think. So I'm going to turn it down a bit. Still like 0.1, cut that in half maybe. Yeah, I think that looks much nicer. Yeah, that works really good, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 0.1 and switch back to my workspace here. And then when you go back to your texture paint and you want to keep going, you know, this is where it really gets fun because now you have that whole complex shader set up. Make sure you're still on your edgeware. I've still got my noise map and I can still come in here and paint. And now you can, it's still, you know, that whole complex shader's there. So it's really fun. It almost looks like you're kind of wearing, oh, geez, oh man, with these stray vertices. It looks like you're just wearing it away as you're painting, right? Which is super cool. And it's really fun. Like I said, you could do this for dirt on here, for oil, for any kind of maps you want to paint on here. It's super easy to do. You could, if you turn the strength way down, you can just kind of burn through the paint just to get to the primer level if you want. Yeah, if you work at it, where it's like down here, you can see kind of mostly a lot of that's just primer. So it's fun. You know, it's fun to experiment with what all's happening once you've got this complex shader set up. And yeah, you can just do this all day. What's next? What do we want to do next with this thing? I think that might be it. I think that's the basics of the texture painting. I guess we could go into stenciling now. Show you some stencils. You know, of course, you could. This is kind of where you want to settle in and just have some fun, put on some music, and just do this for a while. And do your whole object. And again, this is where, keep in mind, if you want to do anything special to that metal underneath, if you want to put rust patterns on it, or you know, if you decide your damage pattern is going to reveal a lot more of it than you originally thought, or than I'm doing here, you can go ahead back in, and you could even use this edge map combined with like a noise to sort of put in rusty scratches right where it's only been damaged and stuff like that. So you could do all kinds of really cool custom stuff with this map now that you've got it. And then, yeah, don't forget to save the maps. You can also take these maps, if it's easier for you to paint in another program, or Photoshop or whatever. It's very easy to take them into another program and do stuff. Yeah. So now's the time to just have some fun with it. Look at that. That looks great. So, yeah, let's do some stencils in the next one, and that'll kind of finish it up and show you all the techniques I've got for some basic texture painting. All right, I'll see you in the next one.